Yes, I was on mute, sorry. I would like to welcome you all on our first webinar of the DevOps Trilogy, which is powered by SoftServe. Just to let you know, this webinar will be recorded and we will send it to you later on. But before we will start, I will tell you a couple of words about SoftServe. So this is an IT company which specializes in software development and consultancy in the field of big data, IoT, cloud, DevOps, e-commerce, experience design. It was founded in 1993 in Lviv by two Polytechnic postgraduates, and now it hires around 8,000 employees in 11 countries. The first office in Poland was opened in 2014, and now we operate in 5 locations, which are Wrocław, Gliwice, Białystok, Warszawa, and Poznań. And we are still growing, and we have big plans for the future. And today's presentation will be led by Błażej Kwaśniak, who is an experienced DevOps engineer. He will tell you a little bit about the Jenkins X. So have fun. Stage is yours, Błażej.
So good morning, everyone. As Kasia said, my name is Błażej. My name is Błażej Kwaśniak. I'm working in SoftServe Wrocław as a DevOps guy, aka Cloud Magician. If you have any kind of question, feel free to ask. I can see that there is something called Q&A. So if you have any kind of question, just ask. Yeah, so I think we can start. So I'll start with agenda as usual. So agenda is pretty not so sophisticated. First, we'll talk about the most important thing about this kind of presentation, like Jenkins X versus Jenkins, the good old fella, which you all know. Then we would like to see some architecture review. Then we discuss about the pipelines, which are pretty important part of Jenkins, any other CI/CD tool as well. And there we'll try to do some live demo. Let's see if it's gonna work or not. But anyway, I would like to start a bit about motivation, why I choose this topic, why I pick Jenkins X, and why I would like to tell you about this. So basically, since we are in lockdown, I have too much time actually. So I just try to look for the brand new software, brand new technologies, which might improve my work as a DevOps, improve my CI/CD pipelines and things like this. And I just look into Jenkins X. I found it interesting, and that's why we are here. I'm not a core developer. I'm not really using it for a long time, so I would like to say that I'm a rookie. But still, I think whatever I found during my research is fine. I think it's useful, so feel free to use it. So as I promised you, the most important part: Jenkins X versus Jenkins. So it's pretty nice, interesting, because Jenkins X has nothing to do with Jenkins actually. It's completely new code base. It's completely new technology, completely new environment. The only connection between old Jenkins and Jenkins X actually is something called static Jenkins X installation. And we're gonna talk about this a bit more later, but actually in the first version, because right now we are talking about Jenkins X 2.0 to 2.0 plus. Jenkins, the old Jenkins, has been used as a CI/CD engine, but it's not being used anymore. I'm going to describe you probably why and what is in your place. So I'm pretty sure that all of you got the catch. I did it as well because when I see Jenkins X, well, Jenkins, it's nice. Should be nice because Jenkins is really popular one with good technology. I guess all of us, or maybe most of us, has been using Jenkins at some point in our lives, in our careers, and it's pretty powerful. That's why also I look into Jenkins X, and when I find out that it's actually not Jenkins, it's a completely new thing, I was rather disappointed a bit, but we'll see. Maybe they come up with something better. As you can see here in the very beginning, then even submit, there's a link, submit some to the Jenkins let's say community. As the Jenkins X is going to be a part of Jenkins community, and in this document, you can find the information that it's going to use CI/CD. Jenkins actually CI/CD as as a main part, but it's not true anymore. So it's changed actually. The only connection which I can see right now with legacy Jenkins or Papa Jenkins, I would say, is this plugin, which is capable of converting Jenkins files to JX files. I'm not really sure if it's working. I haven't tried it. It's more like a interesting thing for you to check if someone is going to use it. And fun fact of the day, actually, I found the article, and the Jenkins X community just decided to change the logo, because as you can see on the left side, there's the old Jenkins. I mean, the old Jenkins X logo, which was pretty similar to Jenkins one. But they figured out that actually people are confused, and maybe it's a good idea to change the logo to the new one. In my personal opinion, the previous one was better, but whatever. So the problem exists actually, and we are not the only people who actually got a catch, I would say. Oh, hi, Christian. Okay, so boring part, I mean, fun facts, and the history is behind us. Architecture overview. So a few words about the Kubernetes X itself. Kubernetes X overview. So first of all, it's a cloud-native CI/CD system which is based on Kubernetes as much as it can be. It's a part of CNCF ecosystem, which probably means it cannot be run anywhere else that on top of Kubernetes cluster. The main difference between old Jenkins and Jenkins, Jenkins X and old Jenkins, sorry for this, is being done in microservice architecture. I will show you how it's being built, but as we probably all know, the most painful point in old Jenkins was the monolithic architecture, actually, the one solid JVM, which might consume a lot of memory, a lot of CPU, and at some point might be a bottleneck for our system. And probably we all face this kind of an issue. So the new Jenkins X actually is built in microservice manner. It's a combination of many open source components, and we're gonna see, I mean, discuss it a bit later. And also, and the most important thing probably, it relies strongly on CRDs. CRDs is custom resource definition. It's the kind of technology which exists in Kubernetes, as it's strongly used in many different places in Kubernetes ecosystem. A lot of different tools are relying on CRDs, and this is exactly the same case with Jenkins. So there is nothing new at this point. Interesting features, and some of those features I'm going to show you later in demo. At least I hope so. So first of all, it's something called build packs, and I'm going to describe it later. But for now, I would like to emphasize that those things are kind of nice to have. Maybe you will take a look on it more deeply later. Something called application import. I'm not going to show this on demo, but actually Jenkins X is capable of import application and then create automatically CI/CD pipeline for it, which is nice. Something which I have never seen before in any other tools like this is something called preview environment. And preview environment, and I'm going to show this on demo as well. It's something that Jenkins X is supporting to spawn, is able to spawn actually our application to something called preview environment, and to be able to show people how our job looks like. And natively, it's using GitOps approach. Everything is being built around GitOps, and I think there's no other option actually. And what is pretty interesting is extensible via plugins. We probably all know that plugins become the most important part with all Jenkins. And probably, in my personal opinion, the plugin ecosystem around Jenkins was something which make this technology, this product, really strong and popular. So in Jenkins X, plugins exist as well, but I have never used it, and I do not have this. I don't have to, so I haven't tried, but they are existing. So the overall architecture, and this diagram, excuse me, comes from the Jenkins website, the official one. The diagram. It's not really nice, but we don't have anything different. So actually, the whole journey starts from something called Pro. This is kind of the Pro is kind of technology which is actually capable of interact with Git repositories, taking care about the hooks, Git hooks, GitHub hooks in this case, merging, watching the events and things like this. This is part of Kubernetes ecosystem is as well. They just take a code, but it's gonna be soon replaced. So I'm not sure if it's really worth it to take on it because it's officially announced that this part, I mean Pro, will be soon replaced, but something different technology. So for now, it's more like an interesting thing. The most important part at this point is something called pipeline operator and Tekton. Let's start from Tekton. Tekton is open source technology, which is capable, it's kind of a framework to build pipelines based on Kubernetes. And pipeline operator is taking care of Tekton. Later, as you can see, the Tekton is creating Tekton pipeline runs. And those pipeline runs are interacting with registries like Nexus, Docker Registry, and Chart Museum. You probably all know those three things. The one thing which is worthy to mention here, that Docker Registry is like an optional thing because, for example, if you're deploying, aside it, if you're deploying Jenkins X on top of GCP, we're gonna use Google Cloud Registry out of the box. It's being done magically. I don't have to change anything. So Docker Registry is rather optional, probably. It depends on your deployment. And here we can see different environments, but let's talk about this. Okay, so as I promised with Tekton, Tekton is a framework. This framework is, of course, the set of CRDs. Under the hood, we have some kind of operator, which is taking the Tekton pipeline and building actually the set of pods which contains the steps of a job. So this is the heart and the core of the whole Jenkins X, I would say. Anyway, in Jenkins X 1 point something, the legacy Jenkins was used at this point. For now, we have Tekton. I'm not sure if you can replace this component. Probably this is the key thing, and you cannot replace it. The good point about the Tekton as a whole thing is the fact that it's going to spawn the jobs and the pipelines on top of Kubernetes, which makes him pretty scalable thing and should be able to manage pretty huge workload. Also, there's something called Tekton catalog. It's pretty nice. This is the catalog of items which can be shared and reused. So probably it's worth it to take a look and do not reinvent the wheel, actually, because maybe something is already done by the community and you can just use it. As I told you, Pro, webhook handler, GitLab driver, we name it, but actually it's going to be replaced by something called Lighthouse. I have no idea why, actually, don't know the reason. But anyway, Lighthouse will have pretty the same functionality. We're gonna use it on the demo, during the demo, and probably you will see how it works. As I said, I have no idea why they replace it. They are doing it for some reason. The core components, the last three ones, of course, Nexus, Docker Registry, and Chart Museum. Those are pretty well known. We are probably all, maybe not all use it, but actually it's widely used. Interesting part is I found in the community that a lot of people is asking why you are not replacing Nexus with Artifactory, and they say because we don't. So I have no idea why. But actually the goal here is to store the artifacts, which are output from our builds. And this is how it's being done. As I said, it depends how we deploy our things, because Jenkins X, and we're gonna use something called Jenkins X CLI. It's actually capable of replace Docker Registry, for example, AWS ECR or Google Registry, Container Registry. The high-level workflow, how actually the Jenkins X is working and how the flow actually goes. So we have two ways, actually. Either we use JX CLI, because Jenkins X has a pretty nice CLI, actually, or we push our code to Git, and then Pro just takes the events. Maybe this should be on the other way around, wherever. Then there's some kind of Jenkins X magic. I mean, most likely Jenkins X pipelines, etc. And then it's going to spawn things on top of Tekton, and Tekton works out Kubernetes. So this architecture looks pretty nice, in my opinion. It's possible, I would say, that Jenkins X will be pretty scalable. and the problems with the old Jenkins, which means slow, the big footprint, the monolith architecture, which was not performant at some point, might be overcome. But I have never used it in the big production environment, so sorry guys, I cannot answer the question whether it's going to look like I said or not. So typical workflow. So Jenkins X actually is enforcing us to use some workflow, some particular workflow. And this is kind of a the cons of the whole solution, because I'm not sure if you can replace it. So if we don't like this workflow, we would like, for example, to use Git flow or some slightly different workflow or branching strategy. Probably we cannot do it. I didn't find the information how to replace it. So of course it might change in the future, but for now, probably this workflow is only one workflow which is actually supported by Jenkins X. So it's pretty simple. I mean, it looks like something called, as the guy who designed Jenkins X, they claim that it's GitHub flow actually. So which is pretty similar to Git flow, Git feature branch flow, sorry. So actually we open pull request, Jenkins is notified. Then we read the definition of the pipeline. So this part doesn't change actually from the old Jenkins or any other kind of system. Then we generate the Tecton CRDs, and the important part is here that Jenkins X is generating something called, I mean, merging the pipelines, because actually the pipeline can inherit from the other. Then the generated items are run Kubernetes and monitored by Tecton. Basically, that's it. So a bit about the pipelines itself. Okay, so the good part and the most interesting part, in my personal opinion, is the fact that Jenkins has something called build packs, and there are some build packs for most popular languages around the world, like Golang, Java, Python. You're also able to create some custom build packs, and we are going to use it during the demo. So actually, the build packs you can describe as some kind of standardized Docker, Git repository with all items inside which are necessary to build and release our application. So as you can see here, there is an example of the build pack, and this build pack contains all the files which are probably necessary to build the application. Sorry, from this one, probably this is probably example of Golang as far as I remember. So here, as you can see, there's some charts, which is actually the directory containing the Helm charts. The preview is also the Helm chart, but this Helm chart is being used to deploy our application in preview stage. Of course, Docker file to build, make file, definition of the pipeline, the scaffold itself, which is being used to build our Docker images, and some kind of helper. As I said, those build packs are supporting inheritance, overriding. They're pretty extensible. Here on bottom of the slide, you can see the website where you can find all the officially supported build packs. But it's also possible to create your own, and I will do it on the demo. It's pretty easy, I'll say. The pipelines. So actually, each build packs, as I show you here, as definition of the pipeline, but actually, it may contain different kinds of pipelines. As you can see on the left side, as I said, there's a Jenkins X CLI command, and this Jenkins X CLI command is capable of do a pretty lot of things, even create a step. So if you create a step, we can see that there are 3 types of steps, because actually pipeline can have 3 kinds, which means each kind is connected to the moment in the whole development process, which we are actually in. So for example, if we're creating pull requests, we can create a different pipeline only for the pull requests. If we are releasing the software, which means we're updating the version and we'd like to deploy it on the production, different kind of pipeline will be used at this point. And Jenkins X is supporting this out of the box. Also on the right side, you can see that inside the pipeline, because this is a pipeline kind, but here the step might be the part of different life cycle. So which means that, for example, we are creating pull request and we have the step called pre-build. So for example, in the pre-build step, during the pull request, we might perform some actions, or during the build step or promote step. Honestly, I was trying to understand how it works under the hood. This is a pretty big topic. I strongly encourage you to just try it, because for me it looks pretty nice, pretty like a pretty extensible and flexible thing, which might be really powerful in creating a good pipelines, due to the fact that those kinds and life cycles items are in place. So we do not have to do some kind of, we do not have to implement it on our own, which usually did. I probably this is here you can see there's something called syntax reference. Of course, those pipelines, as I said before, same with build packs, they support inheritance. You can extend it. You can, for example, create a pipeline which is taking some different one and just actually override some steps, override some part of the pipeline, which is also nice, I think. Anyway, as I said, looks nice. This is my personal opinion, but we are gonna look at this in the demo. So pipeline definition, this is probably the most interesting part in my personal opinion, except the pipeline itself. So there are three options. Basically, at the easiest point, we don't have to do anything, I would say, because if we're doing the import, like JX import, Jenkins X is capable of automatically detect the language which our application, our Git repository is built, and just pick the proper build pack using Draft. Draft is open source software, which actually has this kind of capability that it's checking the language and just picking and based on that, Jenkins X is picking the proper build pack. The second option is that in our repository, we have a file called jenkinsx.yaml, and the whole definition looks like this. I mean, this is kind of like build pack Python. And actually that's it. We don't have to do anything. I'm not sure if we can, for example, define here a couple of build packs and then there's gonna be inference one another. I'm not sure, to be honest. But basically that's it. I mean, we can just, prepare a proper build pack for us and just let people know that, hey guys, let's use just Python minus something. And the third option is actually to define the whole working pipeline Jenkins X file, like here. But this is something which is kind of obvious, I would say. Okay, so the smaller part, so how the pipelines are actually being built. So first of all is stage. And stage is basically a pod, because since you're in Tecton, so Tecton is translating any kind of definition to the pods and basically the items on top of Kubernetes. So stage is actually a pod. Inside the pod, we can have multiple containers because this is how pod works. So that's why a stage contains a list of steps, and each step is a separated container, which means actually that we share the same namespace, but I mean the pod namespace. But for example, those are different containers, which means we might use different images for step 1 and different image for step 2. Of course, our pipeline might contain multiple stages, and stage might have a different kind, as I showed before. But basically, this is the kind of a pod and the basic unit within the pipeline. So step, and as you can see here, this is the example. There is some release pipeline, the setup stage, and the steps inside. So this is how it's actually being built. Step is the smaller one. Step, you should consider the step as a single container within the pod, and in context of this container, you are actually running your commands. In this case, there are bash commands, but you may have Groovy, and of course, the conditional items are being supported. As far as I know, they're extending this language to support more and more items. So the demo, finally. This is a bit of information about the environment which I actually used. So this is the Google Cloud, and the JX version, I'm using this one. I'm referring to this because Jenkins X is, the guys, the community of Jenkins X is developing pretty fast, so this might change. And important thing here is actually that I have to downgrade my kubectl to 1.16 because with my local version 1.18 was not working. So for those of you who like to replace those steps, this might be a good point. Okay, so installation of the cluster. I put it here on the slides because it takes a time. So let's do not waste the time looking how checking how Kubernetes cluster is spawning. So fun fact again, Jenkins X itself is able to spawn the Kubernetes cluster using Google Cloud and probably Amazon and Azure as well. Because as you can see, there's a command called Jenkins X create cluster GKE, skip installation. And actually you can create a cluster. It was curious, it was fun to me why they decide to implement such a thing, but well, it's like this. As the outcome of this command, after a couple of minutes, you can see that our cluster is deployed. Basically, I haven't checked what's actually being done inside, except this standard Kubernetes cluster. But basically, basically this is how it's working. Of course, probably you can use any other tool like Terraform to spawn a cluster, and then via kubectl just use the Jenkins X, because Jenkins X CLI is using kubectl under the hood as any other tool like Helm. So then the most important part, JX boot, and literally only this thing is needed to spawn the cluster. Below that, you can see a couple of questions which they actually asked. So first of all, I need to put my GitHub account, my GitHub nick. So then some other options. Here, the important thing, because we're gonna use GitOps and GitOps in GitHub. And actually, I cannot see. I'm not sure if you can just remove it, but anyway, this was interesting to me, so I decided to use it. So this is how to generate the token, and basically we need to put this token here. So 15 minutes later. So this is what we've got when we finish the cluster, the deployment of the cluster has been finished. So as you can see, the couple of pods, Technical Pipelines Controller. I name it Jenkins, but Jenkins Pipeline Operator. But anyway, it looks like it's changing, or I'm just looking for a different one. As you can see, there's a lot of components here. Not every of them is being mentioned on the diagram. And I was actually curious why it's like that. Probably because, as I said, they are developing really fast. It's changing constantly. So it might be that it's not up to date. And the outcome, we are going to play with it later. As you can see in my in my GitHub account, the Jenkins X created 3 repositories. And this is the random name, and this turn barely, whatever. This is the random name picked by Jenkins X. So it's not me, sorry. Anyway, as you can see, we have 3 clusters, dev, staging, production, which is pretty standard environment for the most of the companies, I would say. Probably, I'm pretty sure that we can spawn more dev clusters, etc. But I use the standard configuration. I mean, I didn't change literally anything in the configuration, so this is the default one. Okay, so it's a demo scenario. This is what we'll try to do. So first of all, we're gonna deploy Python quick start to the staging environment. Actually, it's gonna be deployed and so on. Then we are going to change the build pack and introduce the testing. So then we'll have some easy tests which gonna fail. So we're gonna see the logs, how it's failing, and then try to fix them. Then we deploy the new version of our application to the staging. I mean, fixed version of our application to the staging environment. And we're gonna do something which is called promote. I didn't mention that before, but actually Jenkins X is supporting the promotion of the application automatically. So you can just promote the application and build to the production environment, for example. So the question is, can you see my screen? Can anyone confirm that? Hello? Chat, yes, okay, cool. So first, as I described here, we can see those three repositories with configuration of our cluster. Let's try to look for one. Here there's a whole configuration of our Jenkins X. Probably the most important part is this file, Jenkins X requirements.yaml. Here you can see the whole configuration of the particular cluster. I didn't change literally anything in this repository. Interesting part is also the Jenkins X is creating a pipeline for itself, which means theoretically it should be able to update itself. I mean, Jenkins should be able to update Jenkins X. So those are the steps which are being done, but I didn't check it how it's actually working. So sorry, guys. Okay, so first, as I said, everything is configured. So let's use something called Quick Start to deploy our application. It's gonna take some time. Don't know why. So as you can see, a couple of questions. The name, let's call it webinar. Of course. As you can see here, Jenkins X automatically used my registry in Google Cloud, which is called like this. Register some hooks, because it's a public cluster, unfortunately. So the hooks in GitHub has been registered, and this is the main integration point between GitHub and Jenkins X. Okay, so what actually happens? We can see that there is a directory called webinar. In this webinar, and also it's being created here. Let's see for the page here. So first thing, couple of things. So first of all, automatically our dev environment, Jenkins has created a pull request, and in this pull request we can see that our application is being initiated, so which is nice. Also, this application webinar, as you can see, it's 1 minute ago, which is now. There's application in Python. This application is just going to show the logo, which is in this file, but we're going to change it. Here we have the definition of the pipeline build pack. Sorry, as I promised you. And anyway, this looks like it's a good starting point to develop our application. So I would imagine that in real world environment, we can create this kind of quick starts for which suits our needs within the organization. For example, refers to Java and etc. So this is how it's actually working. Okay, let's try to see something called activities, because Jenkins X is capable of showing something called activities. So this is the main log, and this log is showing us everything which Jenkins X actually did with our application. Since we automatically the quick start automatically deploy our application to the dev environment. And by default, Jenkins X is being deployed in the option when the dev environment is automatically promoting stuff to the staging. So our application automatically goes to staging. It's interesting. If we refresh that, we can see that here our application is being built, the unit tests are being run, etc. If you would like to see the logs, we can see it here. So there's a couple of logs which are being automatically created for the particular action. As you can see here, the logs are flowing here. The Docker is being built via scaffold, etc. And actually, in the staging environment, because as I said, the promotion is automatically at this point, our application okay, the pull request will appear soon. Oh, so you can see the pull request is being created automatically. I missed that. For some reason, there's 0.2. I have no idea why. Maybe I screw up something. But actually, let's merge this pull request. So let's see the activities. As you can see, there's it's the information that pull request is being created because we automatically promote our application to staging, and this is how Jenkins X is built by default. It's configured by default. So here, as you can see, the pull request is merged. Succeed. So what should actually happen right now? By default, Jenkins X is creating a couple of namespaces, sorry, on our cluster. And here you can see staging and production. So as you probably know, basically we should be able to see our brand new pod being deployed on staging one. So it's not done yet. Okay, so let's see the build logs. As you can see, there's a new item in build logs called promotion staging master, which means because we have merged our pull request, it's going to be merged to the master itself, and we're going to promote the code. So this is the logs which are actually being done. The definition of all those things is being done in the pipelines, as I said. We can try to take a look on these pipelines. The default one. So repositories. Here is the main repository, and it's being forked from this one. And we're going to use it to show the custom build packs, but let's take a look on the standard one. So Python and pipeline. As you can see here, and for those of you who are interested in this technology, I would like to basically take a look on it and try to understand. As you can see, there's different kinds of pipelines, like pull request, and different steps: build, post-build, promote. And this is here why our application has been automatically promoted to the staging, because there's a kind of command which is automatically promoting the environments. And some environments are being marked as auto, and that's why it's being done like this. All right, so let's go back here. As we can see, our application is being deployed. So there's another magic command. And this magic command is showing our application deployed on the cluster. One is called webinar. As you can see, there's a public URL for that. Done. So actually, within 5 minutes and a couple of commands, we were able to deploy our application to the staging, which essentially is a kind of Kubernetes cluster. And then we are able to just use it, which is pretty nice and impressive, I would say. Of course, probably due to the good quick start, but anyway, it's still nice. Okay, next step, as I promised you, is gonna be, we're gonna try to use the build packs and custom build pack. So as you can see here is the definition of the build pack being written in Python, but I did some kind of sophisticated changes to this build pack and created a new one called Python with tests. And within the same pipeline file, I just add this step. It's pretty dummy. I'm pretty sure that you can do it in many more ways, in more smart way. But actually, I'm just running the Python code. Tests, which are gonna fail, but we'll see. Okay, so our application is deployed here, and now let's try to do some magic. So first, what we really need to do, because by default our build packs are being pointing to the standard one, so let's change the build packs. Of course, this might be changed in the configuration as well. Then let's do some magic. Couple of files are being changed. So first of all, as I said, instead of the image, right now we're gonna put some fancy HTML code. And then also we're gonna have some kind of tests. Sorry. So actually those tests, as you can see here, are just checking whether the output is correct and the status. So this is our bag. It should be different. So let me use the fancy helper script, which is gonna to push the code. And here where the magic starts. So first we need to create a pull request to our webinar repository. And let's create a pull request. So actually, Jenkins X is being notified right now, and what actually is happening. So first of all, let's see the logs. And inside the logs, as you can see, a new item is appeared, which is pre-built. And of course, the steps will go further. But here as well, you can see the activities log. And this activity log, it's not done yet. Oh, sorry, it is. Here, as you can see, there's new action, like webinar pull request number 1. And some kind of actions are happening. And here, we just need to wait a bit. And here is something which is most interesting thing, because as I promised you, there's going to be some preview environment for that. So Dockerify is being built, actually. And let's see the chat. Maybe I said something wrong and I should clarify something. Yes, 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 okay. I recommend Victor Farr. Some guy, Christian, just wrote that he highly recommend the Victor Farr sick books. I heard about this guy, it's really good. Okay. Okay. Let's see what's happening. The preview environment, come on. Okay, so actually what should happen, we should be able, and this is the default behavior. Because actually Jenkins X should spawn our application in the new namespace using the definition which is inside our build pack. So maybe we can see this definition because it's not sophisticated. Okay, packs. So as I promised you, there's two Helm charts. One is actually the Helm chart, which is standard one, and this one is gonna deploy our application with Helm. But this one is being used for preview. And also I'm wondering if we can, for example, deploy some kind of testing or continuous integration, some environment for continuous integration using this, probably yes. Well, this is a pretty interesting thing. Okay, as you can see here, we have a new namespace with a new pod inside. Let's see the activity log. Actually, here we can see that the preview application is being deployed automatically. And this is our new application. Again, I didn't do almost anything to make it work. Of course, it's a pretty easy one as usual. On the demo, you're using the most common examples, but anyway. Okay, so as you can see, preview is being done. So now let's merge our pull request. Let's see what happens. Pull request. So merging, confirm. So actually right now this should be automatically promoted to the staging environment. And from the staging environment, I'm gonna do something called promotion to the, to the production environment. So as you can see here, we are releasing software because we are merging it to master, and this is how those steps are being built. So the release stage. One of the problems which I can see for now is the fact that I should be able, I should be able to see these activities here, but I'm not. Don't know why. Maybe it's not the case. And also, what I can see, I mean, some kind of issue that those preview environments probably are not being cleaned, which means it's going to stay probably forever. But it's not a big problem. You can delete them automatically. So here you can see some logs. Actually, our application is being built. Let's see if we have something different. Soon we should be able to see something in our staging. Probably it is right now, not yet. Not yet. Okay, it's still being released. One of the problems as well might be that we are building probably this image third time or second one. Maybe we can change this behavior, but I have no idea, to be honest. Okay, showing logs. As you can see, also the new tag is being created automatically with some kind of a change log, etc., source code, which is interesting. Okay, now you can see that promoting the code actually. Here, there's some pull requests being created automatically. So let's try. Okay, pull request here. So our application is automatically kind of promote to the staging. If we are talking about changes, so this is the whole changes. I mean, actually the version is being changed. So let's merge this one. Confirm merge. And here at this point, if you go to the application, here's the 0.2 version. So soon we should be able to see 0.3 version. No, it's not working here. So let's do the good old watch. And build logs. As you can see here, we have the promotion step. Again, there's some magic which is being done. Actually here, you can see the step and the name. Probably I didn't mention that, but step within the stage should have a unique name, maybe because of this. You can see here there's some creating of Tecton CRDs, credential things, some other steps. So let's wait a bit. Again, I'm curious, why can I not see these things here? It's interesting. Maybe because only the pull requests are being shown. Maybe, I have no idea. Okay, so promotion. Our chart is being automatically added to chart museum, which is deployed in our cluster. Come on, dude, a few more seconds. Can also try to see our staging application is being automatically updated, so we can now see that there's a new version. So now the question is how to promote our application to production environment. So there's a pretty easy command. And here we should just put the version. Oh, sorry. And environment and application. Because please keep in mind that, yeah, I mean, I think so, that production environment is just a name we can put here. We can have multiple productions. So we can, for example, have production A, production B, production Asia, production Europe, production something. So that's why I probably would like to, we can promote our environment, our applications to different parts and different, okay, so as you can see, automatically it's being created a pull request to the production environment. Fields change as usual, only this. It's pretty straightforward. So let's merge it, confirm. And within a few seconds, we should be able to see our application which is deployed here. And also here. Let's see. Because so far the demo goes pretty smoothly, so come on. Let's maybe try to see the logs. Okay, as you can see again, the promotion step to the master, which is kind of merging and deploying thing. Again, we are building the pipeline from the build pack, because as I said, this might be overwritten something or something else. Okay. Helm apply. Interesting. And come on, Jenkins. Anyway, to sum up, I see. In my personal opinion, it looks pretty nice because, as you can see, within literally 15 minutes, we deploy it and promote and somehow test our environment. So this is kind of interesting. And probably the stage when the test failed, I skip it for some reason, something is not pretty good. Okay. Oh, finally. So you can see our application is deployed to the production. So here we have a staging, and here we have production. So you can see it's deployed in both ways. Finally, okay, so let's go back to the presentation. And to summarize some kind of biased opinion about the Jenkins X. So let's start from the pros. Looks good, and we can say great in my opinion. The concept of build packs is nice. I fully understand that you can probably achieve the same point having Jenkins, the classic Jenkins shared libraries, etc. But at this point, it looks really nice. It's easy to start because it wasn't difficult, as you can see. Also, the microservice architecture is good in my opinion, because might be that Jenkins X is not going to die as the old Jenkins was dying actually with the huge load. The cons at this point, the biggest one, in my opinion, is that it supports one workflow, which you can see at this demo. I'm not sure if it's going to change it, if the guys from Jenkins X are going to change it or not. But for now, might be a problem because different companies has different approaches, would like to use different flows. I'm not sure if you can change this. And it's still fresh and evolving. It's evolving a lot, I would say. For example, some time ago, you have something called Jenkins installation. Now we have Jenkins boot, etc. So it's changing a lot. But on the other hand, looks like the guys from Jenkins X are doing a lot of work around it. So maybe finally they come up with something really great. So links at the very end. Especially, I would like to encourage you, if someone is interested, to look for CloudBees because the company is investing a lot in Jenkins X. So there's a lot of presentation from them. And here you can see the same kind of demo. It takes 2 hours, and guys doing pretty much the same thing which I did, but more sophisticated. So if something is interesting, guys, let's just take a look. So the questions right now, because Q&A is empty, so maybe the chat. No questions? Okay, so if there is no more questions, no questions at all, so Katarzyna, could you take the mic?
Yeah, thank you very much, Błażej, for your presentation. I would also like to thank you all for your attendance, and would like to take this opportunity to invite you to the second part of our DevOps Trilogy webinars, which is about AWS Outposts. So it will be next Wednesday. Stay tuned and join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.